Hi there, my name's Catherine and this is my channel, So Much Sewing. On this channel I talk about creating a handmade wardrobe from scratch, and the reason I'm doing that is because I have lost a significant amount of weight and so I just need to build up my wardrobe again. The things I talk about on here are just the general, patterns and fabric matches, things I've been making, things I will be making, plans, what have you. And there's also a little bit of sort of, would you call it styling? I'm not sure. Just, with regard to how my sort of general body shape has changed recently, and what things might suit me now whereas they didn't before, and the sorts of things that I did wear before that I don't wear now. So it's a real mix, just the general sort of sewing goodness channel. But today is something a little bit different. Today what I thought I would do is, instead of talking to you about the things that I have done and will do, I'm going to talk to you about the things that you will not see on my channel, the things that I won't do. So this is just a bit of a fun video. It's not meant to poke at anybody or anything. It's just, all about personal preference. We all have our own preferences, and these are my preferences and things that I choose not to do and not to include in my channel. So let's get going. So the first thing you won't see on my channel are tutorials or sew-alongs. I started sewing when I was 11 years old, so that is actually 45 years ago. But I am by no means an expert. I had long periods of time where I wasn't sewing at all during the last 45 years. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that. I can't believe I'm saying that. 45 years, amazing. But yeah, there were large periods where I wasn't sewing. I have recently picked it up again. I started actually before the pandemic hit, so I'd been sewing for a while before that hit us. But at the end of the day, I don't put myself out there to be any great expert. To be honest, I probably don't push myself too hard with technical makes, complicated makes. If I find that I'm getting frustrated, I'll tend to just, if it's too hard, I will put it aside and think about it for a while and come back to it. Or I might just plow through and do a bodge job and just make it work, just finish it, just to get the jolly thing done. And then of course I probably won't be satisfied with it. So, that's the reality. I don't put myself out there to be an expert. And look, I just really don't want that pressure. Another thing you won't see on my channel is jumpsuits. I have only ever owned one jumpsuit in my whole entire life. It was white, and I'll talk about white a little bit later in this video. They're not for me. I just can't get my head around, going to the bathroom, stripping off, getting half naked, with my clothing pulled around my ankles on the bathroom floor, the toilet floor. It's just too much yuck for me. So it's just my personal preference. Jumpsuits are not for me. I did have one many years ago. I was about 16 at the time, and it was white, as I said just before. I wore it with a very thick black sort of corset belt type thing with buckles on it. It was the early 1980s, so it was very, of the moment. I did love it at the time, and I looked pretty darn good in it, I have to say. But these days when I think about a jumpsuit, it's just not for me. I did actually have a cat suit when I was about 8 years old, which is kind of like a jumpsuit. It was kind of like a leotard type thing made out of a stretch toweling fabric. It was orange and it had no legs, so yeah, like a leotard. It had some short sleeves, I think, and it had on the sleeve cuffs and on the leg bands, it had a sort of like a tiger stripe type of effect toweling, and it also had a tiger stripe effect toweling belt to wear around the middle. But I used to tuck that into the back of my pants because it was a cat suit, and I used to trot around like I had a little tail coming out of the back of my pants. So I did love that. Like I say, I was 8 years old, and it was, when was that? That was the early 1970s. It must have been the early 1970s. So anyway, that was the only other sort of jumpsuit, catsuit type situation that I have ever had going on. Another thing you won't see on my channel, at least not for a while anyway, is a fabric haul. That's because I got bills. I got bills that I need to pay. In the new year, I should be able to feel comfortable enough to start buying fabrics again. But the reality is, I have a cupboard full of fabrics. I have every kind of fabric man ever created, just about, sitting in my cupboard ready for me to use. I really do not need any more fabric. It would be nice to buy some every now and then. But what have I got in my cupboard? I've got cotton knit, I've got rayon knit, I've got wet look jersey knit, I've got athletic knit, I've got power mesh, I've got viscose, I've got twill, I've got bengaline, I've got wool boucle, I've got merino. What have I missed? I've got chiffon, I've got raincoat fabric, linen, and there's probably some other stuff that I've got sitting in my cupboard that I have forgotten about. So I really don't need fabric. The only fabric I will be purchasing in the foreseeable future, well, until sort of maybe January next year, is I'll continue with the Dahlia Society bespoke boxes. I really enjoy getting that little surprise every month. And I also really feel it's important. I'm enjoying supporting Kristen from the Dahlia Society. You know, she started her YouTube channel, I can't remember if it's 3 or 4 years ago now. She's just had an anniversary. But it's just so wonderful to see that an Australian woman with a YouTube channel has now grown her enterprises, and she has her online store full of beautiful fabrics, buttons, haberdashery, all sorts of things. She's now going to be including patterns. She's getting her first shipment of patterns very soon. And so I personally just feel it's really important for me to support her. She's in Australia, I'm in New Zealand, but we're in a group of countries called Australasia. And so we are a group. We have our rivalries with sport between Australia and New Zealand, but you know, it's nice to have a little bit of solidarity in our little corner of the world, because we're a long way from the rest of the world. YouTube obviously makes the rest of the world a lot closer, but I'm really enjoying supporting her. So I will see, you will see more Dahlia Society bespoke boxes from me, and that's probably pretty much the only fabric purchase you will see. I also have, I'm not really going to be buying patterns. I have a bucket load of patterns, more patterns than I could ever possibly use. Occasionally I might buy one, you know, to scratch the itch, because it's really hard not buying fabric. If any of you have gone through a self-imposed ban, you will know how hard it is. So, you know, sometimes buying a cheeky little pattern is enough to sort of scratch that itch. I will, of course, need buttons here and there, thread. No, I don't really need thread. I've got a lot of thread too. So I just need to chill on the whole purchasing situation. So you're not going to see a lot of purchases on my channel, although you will still see me matching the fabrics that I do have with the patterns that I do have. So don't worry, we're not going to be going without. Another thing you won't see on my channel is me in a bodycon dress. I don't need to go there. No one needs to see me in a bodycon dress. That's all I've got to say on that subject. Another thing you won't see on this channel is bra making. Now, I totally and completely get why people would want to make their own bras, and it is completely amazing that there's bra kits out there, and people like Cashmerette have got bra patterns, and probably lots of other people, you know, Green Style Creations have got bralettes and sports tops and things, and Jali. I completely understand why people would want to do that, but it's not for me. Certainly not at the moment, perhaps in the future, I don't know, but Myself, I don't see the need for me to be making bras. Certainly not showing you me in bras. The concept, I just can't. All right, I'm going to stop there because I just can't see that happening. Another thing you won't see on my channel is the saltwater slip. I know how popular it's been. It has taken the sewing world by storm, but it's just not for me. It has no sleeves. I really don't wear anything with no sleeves. It also has a very straight silhouette to it, which I feel does not suit my body shape. And it gets tied around the middle with a tiny little skinny belt that, as my mother would have said, would make me look like a bag of potatoes tied up around the middle. Just not for me. It looks fantastic on so many people, and I get why people are really keen on it, but it's just not something that you will see on my channel. And the last thing you won't see on my channel is anything white. I just don't like white. It doesn't suit me as a color. I'm kind of mucky, and even if I'm not as mucky as I think I am, I still would worry about getting this white thing dirty and staining it. I did recently make a shirt dress from Stylark, the Anais shirt dress. It has a lot of, it's not white, it's sort of a creamy ivory. I don't exactly know what color it is. It's off-white, shall we say off-white. It has a lot of that in the background, and that's unusual for me. I don't go for white. If there's a pattern on a fabric, I like to have a dark background. But I purchased this fabric and I made it up into the dress, and I do adore it. I completely and utterly love it. I do have another piece of fabric in my stash that I will be using soon, and it has a similar sort of pale creamy ivory background with some beautiful sort of Wedgwood blue pattern on it, and I will be using that too. But those two things are very unusual for me. I'm just not into white. I know stylists always say that everybody must have a white shirt, a crisp white shirt in their wardrobe. Well, no, I don't. I don't need a crisp white shirt in my wardrobe. Like I say, it doesn't suit me. I don't feel comfortable. And so for those reasons, you will not see me making anything white. So there we are. That's just a few things that you will not see on my channel. I just thought you might like to know that. I hope you will still find lots of interesting content on my channel, even if you like some of those things that I've said that I do not. I hope you won't take offense by what I've said. It's lighthearted. Everyone has their own personal preferences, and those are just mine. So thanks very much for joining me today. As always, it was a pleasure to be sitting here in front of you. I hope you will like and subscribe if you haven't done already. Put some comments through. I really enjoy chatting to you. If you can share this video with someone who might like it, then please do that. And I look forward to seeing you again. Thanks for being here.